Let's go Broncos! It looks like the Denver Broncos are finally on the mend, my friends. We're all excited to be heading into the playoffs. This is incredible. I can't even believe it. If you're also super excited about this, hit that like button hard. But only do so if you're a true Broncos fan. If possible, comment something like this: "Go Broncos, let's go to the Super Bowl." After years of heartbreak and an 8-year playoff drought, the team is now in an ideal position to make a real push for the playoffs. Coming off a much-needed bye week, the Broncos are poised to capitalize on a series of fortunate events around the league and their own remarkable progress. Injuries to opposing teams, stellar performances from key players, and a well-constructed roster by Shawn Payton are all coming together to create a sense of hope in Broncos country. If you've been following this season closely, you know how much things have turned around for the Broncos. It's hard to forget the pain of the past 8 years, but one thing is clear: in the NFL, fortunes can change quickly. Shawn Payton's goal of turning the Broncos into the Detroit Lions of the AFC is becoming a reality. Look at the Lions themselves as an example. 3 years ago, they were a rebuilding team. Today, they are a legitimate Super Bowl contender. That transformation was possible through smart drafting and the acquisition of the right players, something Payton has mirrored in Denver. The Broncos' offensive line has been exceptional this season, leading the league in the lowest pressure rate allowed on their quarterback. This has been crucial for rookie quarterback Bo Nix, who has continued to improve and make smart decisions behind a wall of protection. Denver's offensive line, led by coach Zach Strief, has neutralized some of the best edge rushers in the league, including Max Crosby and Myles Garrett. At the same time, the defensive line has become a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. Players like Jonathan Cooper and Nick Benito, who is even in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, are leading the charge in pressuring and sacking quarterbacks. As for the competition, things are breaking the Broncos' way. The Los Angeles Chargers, one of Denver's key rivals for a playoff spot, are battling significant injuries. Their top running back is out, and their star wide receiver Ladd McConkey remains banged up, raising doubts about his availability in critical games. Even when the Chargers managed to eke out a win against the Atlanta Falcons, their performance was less than convincing. Justin Herbert was sacked 5 times, and the Chargers didn't score an offensive touchdown, raising serious questions about their ability to handle the Broncos' surging defense in an upcoming short week matchup. Meanwhile, the Cincinnati Bengals, another team in the playoff race, are dealing with their own struggles. Jamar Chase, their star wide receiver, appears to be making business decisions regarding playing through injuries, leaving the Bengals offense in a precarious position. With Denver set to face Cincinnati in 3 weeks, these developments only strengthen the Broncos' odds. The playoff picture for Denver is coming into sharper focus, and several scenarios could work in their favor. Even if the Broncos win just one more game this season, they are likely to clinch the 7th seed and face a team like the Chiefs or Bills in the wild card round. However, there's a real chance Denver could win out, especially with winnable games against the Colts, Chargers, and Bengals on the horizon. This would put them in a stronger playoff position and potentially even give them favorable matchups in the postseason. It's worth noting how this year's playoff structure could influence key games. Teams like the Chiefs or Bills might think twice about resting their starters in Week 18 if they've already secured the top seed, as doing so would create a 2-week break before their next game. This could work to Denver's advantage if they find themselves in a scenario where they need a win in the final week to solidify their playoff spot. Denver fans, this is where we find ourselves, at the turning point of a season that could rewrite the narrative of the past 8 years. This team has changed the corner, as Shawn Payton predicted, and the numbers, performances, and league dynamics all point toward a Broncos playoff berth. The defense is peaking at the right time, the offense is protecting its young quarterback, and rivals are faltering. What do you think, Broncos country? Are we witnessing the start of something special? Could this team not only make the playoffs, but make noise once they get there? Share your thoughts below, because this is shaping up to be a season we'll talk about for years to come. Looking ahead, the remaining schedule is where things get particularly interesting. The Broncos control their own destiny, a statement that feels almost surreal after the roller coaster of recent years. The first big test comes this Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. Playing at home at Mile High gives Denver an edge, and this game could be the stepping stone that locks them into a playoff spot. Winning here is the most straightforward path to keeping the 7th seed secure. But if the Broncos can push beyond just one win, their opportunities expand significantly. After the Colts, Denver faces the Los Angeles Chargers in what could be a pivotal matchup. The Chargers' injury-plagued roster will have a short week to recover and prepare, and their recent struggles paint a picture of a team barely holding it together. Denver already came close to defeating them earlier in the season, and now with a stronger, more polished Bo Nix at quarterback and a defense firing on all cylinders, the odds are squarely in the Broncos' favor. This game is not only a chance to solidify playoff standing, but also to gain critical momentum heading into the final stretch. Then comes the showdown with the Cincinnati Bengals, a game that could be a major turning point for both teams. With Denver coming off 10 days of rest and the Bengals potentially without Jamar Chase, the Broncos will have a prime opportunity to capitalize. This is the type of game that could set the tone for how the league views the Broncos, not just as playoff hopefuls, but as legitimate contenders capable of making a deep run. The most intriguing twist in the schedule, however, lies in Week 18. The Broncos will face the Kansas City Chiefs, a team they could very well end up meeting in the wild card round. Depending on how the standings shake out, this game could become a chess match of strategy. If the Chiefs have locked up the top seed, will they rest their starters, giving Denver a clearer path to victory? Or will they play full force, risking injury but maintaining momentum? On the flip side, Denver could enter this game with their playoff fate still undecided, adding even more weight to what is already a dramatic matchup. Shawn Payton's vision for this team is playing out right in front of us. He spoke about becoming the Lions of the AFC, and now that transformation feels tangible. Just as Detroit built their success on strong drafts and calculated roster moves, Denver has done the same. Players like Nick Bonitto and Jonathan Cooper have been revelations on defense, while the offensive line has given Bo Nix the platform to grow into his role. This team isn't just surviving, they're thriving in the trenches, and that's where championship teams are built. The parallels to Super Bowl 50 are impossible to ignore. That team won because of an elite defense that pressured opposing quarterbacks into mistakes, and this year's Broncos are building a similar identity. The difference is that this offense, with its young quarterback and sturdy protection, is avoiding turnovers and playing efficient football. It's a recipe for success, and it's being executed at exactly the right time. What makes this story even more compelling is how the Broncos' path to the playoffs could unfold. Imagine facing the Chiefs in back-to-back weeks, first in Week 18 and then in the wild card round. The familiarity and rivalry could make for an unforgettable playoff battle. Alternatively, the Broncos could find themselves heading to Buffalo to take on the Bills, another daunting but exciting matchup. Either way, this team is no longer just a long shot. They're a legitimate contender, and the NFL is starting to take notice. For fans, this is the payoff for years of patience and resilience. After seasons of false starts and rebuilds that never seemed to materialize, the Broncos are finally on the rise. The playoff machine scenarios, the advanced stats showing the dominance of the offensive and defensive lines, the growth of Bo Nix, these aren't just reasons to hope, they're reasons to believe. So now, Broncos country, the question is, where do you see this story going next? Is this the start of a magical run to the postseason? Could this team follow in the footsteps of the 2015 squad and bring playoff football back to Denver in style? Or do you see other scenarios unfolding in this wild, unpredictable season? Let us know your thoughts, your hopes, and your predictions in the comments. This is our time, Broncos fans, and the journey is just getting started.